If you had to choose, what's your favorite roller coaster at Six Flags Magic Mountain? Twisted Colossus, X2? The answer seems to be pretty divisive. What about Six Flags Over Georgia? Goliath and Twisted Cyclone are just so different. This inspired me to make a video which today I'll be answering these questions for all 15 of the Six Flags parks in North America. I thought it would be fun to voice my opinion on the matter, and who knows, if this video does well, maybe I'll make it a series and do Cedar Fair parks next. Just a quick note, I haven't been to all of the Six Flags parks out there. I'm currently missing Frontier City, Great Escape, La Ronde, Six Flags Darien Lake, and Six Flags Great America. When we get around to those, I'll consider my very own prediction and the popular choice amongst roller coaster enthusiasts. This is the best roller coaster at every Six Flags park, which I'll be doing in alphabetical order. I think this is also best because I get to knock out a lot of the smaller parks early on. First up is Frontier City in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. This is a park I have not been to, and they are currently home to 5 roller coasters. The 2 that seem to be competing for first place are Silver Bullet, a Schwarzkopf looping coaster, and Diamondback, an Arrow shuttle loop coaster. Whichever one of these is first ultimately doesn't matter, as they're each a weak headlining attraction for this park. That said, they do get points for uniqueness, as Silver Bullet is the last remaining looping star model left in North America, and Diamondback is one of only 3 Arrow shuttle loop models left in the world. While Silver Bullet has that one forceful loop as the signature element, Diamondback goes through its inversion twice in either direction. Plus, it's got that sweet airtime off the launch platforms that I hear is extra wild going backwards. For this one, I'm going with Diamondback, which unfortunately seems to be closed more than it's open these days. Another pretty neglected Six Flags park is the Great Escape in Queensberry, New York. This park looks charming with some adorable fairy tale theming, but still, it only has 6 roller coasters, so it's not much of a priority for me, especially because they're so remote in the lens of a coaster enthusiast. Between their 6 screen machines, I think it's pretty obvious which is the best. Comet is their 1994 PTC wood coaster, and it looks like an airtime machine when warmed up. It's the one ride here that I want to come to this park for, but it's a weak #1 coaster, so I'm not exactly in a rush to do so. I would say it's a better top coaster than Frontier Cities though, but Six Flags, please bless Great Escape with an RMC Raptor or something. Much to my surprise, a park that's only a few hours north, La Ronde, is the only Six Flags park in Canada. This park has a lineup of 8 roller coasters, and one clearly stands up from the rest. Goliath, the park's B&M mega coaster, has a 4,000-foot long layout of parabolic airtime hills. It's not a diverse layout by any means, but it looks to pack in the airtime, so that's gotta be worth something. With these 3 parks out of the way, we can now move on to the Six Flags branded properties, all of which have a stronger collection of coasters than these. Six Flags America, situated in Bowie, Maryland, has an underappreciated lineup of 9 coasters. Having been to the park, I enjoyed much of their rides, but have to give credit where credit is due to Superman Ride of Steel. This Intamin hypercoaster opened in the year 2000 and has a rather unconventional layout. That said, I love this ride and had tons of fun on it. The sense of speed was magnificent, and all of the airtime it offers is great. Sure, an RMC conversion of Roar would likely overtake Superman Ride of Steel, but I just think this coaster is perfectly acceptable as a standout ride relative to the park's size and attendance. The same can actually be said about Six Flags Darien Lake near Buffalo, New York, who ironically have the same ride just called Ride of Steel. Now, I haven't actually been to Six Flags Darien Lake, but the general consensus is that their second place coaster is a Gerstlauer Eurofighter. I've ridden plenty of those rides, and while they are fun, they don't hold a candle to the Ride of Steel clones. Another obvious choice for me resides at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom in Vallejo, California. I rode every coaster here with the exception of Flash Vertical Velocity, and nothing came close to matching the park's RMC Joker. This is an immensely underrated ride with tons of airtime and some of the manufacturer's best inversion variety. Even if you think this is the worst RMC coaster, which it seems to have developed a reputation as, it's still better than anything else they have here by far. Moving on, if not for Frontier City, Six Flags Fiesta Texas might be our closest matchup in the video so far. Between their 2 RMCs, Iron Rattler and Wonder Woman Golden Lasso Coaster, we're looking at 2 completely different ride experiences here. Now, originally after visiting this park, my answer would have been Wonder Woman due to its wicked intensity and rapid-fire pacing. But the more I rode Iron Rattler, and especially just as I've thought about it over time, I think it's the best ride in the park for sure. Unlike Wonder Woman, it has a completely original layout that takes advantage of the quarry wall environment. Elements like the first drop, the cliff drop, and the zero-G roll are some of the best maneuvers of their kind that RMC has produced. It's for that reason that Iron Rattler takes the edge as the best roller coaster at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. Over to New Jersey, Six Flags Great Adventure is one of the strongest coaster lineups in the chain, but I don't think it's arguable which is the best. El Toro is an Intamin prefabricated wooden coaster with a boatload of airtime. Almost every element is as powerful as they come for a Woody, and that's why El Toro is widely considered to be one of the best wood coasters in the world. That said, I also want to shout out the front row ride experience on King Ka, the tallest roller coaster on the planet. This ride is actually only ranked a few spots apart from El Toro in my overall coaster rankings, and I find it severely underappreciated. I'm not saying I'm uncertain about my pick of El Toro being the best coaster here, but I do think King Ka might be your favorite if you're into that sort of intensity. The last Six Flags park I haven't been to is also one of the most visited, Six Flags Flags Great America outside of Chicago, Illinois. This might be the toughest call of them all, especially since I have no personal opinion on the matter. There's 3 rides here all fighting for the top spot: Goliath, Max Force, and Raging Bull. All of these are relatively polarizing in the coaster world, so that doesn't help either. Everyone seems to have a different opinion on this, so let's break down some layout. Goliath is known to be a weaker RMC with a very short layout but a few powerful elements. The first drop, camelback, dive loop, and zero-G stall all look like bangers. Now, if you thought Goliath was short though, you probably won't be very satisfied with Max Force. Though to be fair, every second of that ride looks to be off the walls intense. Starting with the fastest accelerating launch in America, reaching 78 miles per hour in 1.8 seconds, then you've got some ultra unique inversions and the world's fastest Heartline roll. To me, Max Force seems to be the biggest adrenaline rush in the park, but is it the best? First, let's discuss Raging Bull, an older B&M hypercoaster from 1999. From what I hear, the ride has some good airtime with a standout element being the initial drop in the back row. Otherwise, there isn't much to shout out in the world of hypercoasters, I feel like. This, in my opinion, brings things closer between Goliath and Max Force, which seem to have a pretty equal amount of quality elements. Though it could go either way, I'm actually going to predict that Six Flags Great America's best coaster is Max Force. With my love for launch coasters, I'm sure I'd love the blistering speed and pacing of this ride. To be honest, I think this park deserves a higher quality standout attraction. Not that Max Force is bad by any means, but the lineup otherwise is stacked top to bottom. My home Six Flags park is just 2.5 hours north in Valencia, California, USA. Six Flags Magic Mountain is one of the most divisive parks to feature on this list. On one hand, those who love airtime above anything else will declare Twisted Colossus their favorite ride in the park. On the other hand, those who love the utmost intense ride experiences will say X2 is the best by far. Personally, I'm one of those people because not only is X2 so unique, but it feels different almost every time I ride it. Sometimes the difference can be a bad thing if it's like running rough or something, but other times it's the difference by where you sit that's the cause. A back row ride and a front row ride feel very different on X2 than a back row and front row ride on Twisted Colossus. Now, Twisted Colossus is also a fantastic ride, but a lot of the airtime on it feels the same as the last. I wouldn't say that's too much of a negative because the airtime on that ride is just amazing. I'm just saying that X2 takes the odds for me because it's such a different experience compared to any other American coaster, especially depending on the day and seating. One of my favorite Six Flags parks is located down in Mexico City and is the chain's only park in the country. Six Flags Mexico has 2 roller coasters that put the park on the map for coaster enthusiasts, Medusa Steel Coaster and Superman El Último Escape. These 2 are always being swapped around in my rankings. The way I see it, Medusa Steel Coaster needs its time to warm up, but then at nighttime, it's the best ride in the park for sure. Though Superman, on the other hand, seems to travel through its layout unnaturally fast no matter the time of day. Its first drop and first hill aren't my favorite, but everything after that all the way to the brake run are some of the best of what Morgan has to offer. The Spaghetti Bowl Helix, as well as numerous other turns, are profiled in a way that offer downright terrifying lateral forces. Then the airtime hill after the Helix and all the camelbacks after the mid-course brake run are borderline ejector airtime. The variety of forces is just outstanding for a ride like this, so I'll barely give Superman El Último Escape the slight edge at Six Flags Mexico. Six Flags New England is one that I think some of you might disagree on. Their top 2 coasters, Superman the Ride and Wicked Cyclone, are what draw in roller coaster enthusiasts from around the globe. While I've only gotten one ride on Superman, I don't think it came that close to Wicked Cyclone for me. Now, that could just be me having little experience, but I also got only one ride on Wicked Cyclone, and it was just that much more memorable than Superman. The layout is masterful, the airtime is great, and it didn't lose nearly as much steam as a lot of people made it out to. I'll reserve total judgment until I get back here, but for the time being, it's kind of almost a blowout between Wicked Cyclone and Superman the Ride. Heading down south, Six Flags Over Georgia is another situation where a hypercoaster and small-scale RMC are battling it out for the top spot. Don't get me wrong, Twisted Cyclone is a great ride. It's a short but small RMC, and it packs in some really quality elements. But Goliath, on the other hand, is the best B&M hyper I've ever ridden, and it only seems to get better as it continues on. Every element from the first drop to the final brake run is literally perfect for a B&M hyper, so I give it to Goliath for sure. Six Flags Over Texas might be another unpopular one, judging by my one experience there. New Texas Giant is usually considered to be the park's best coaster, the original RMC, which has a plethora of airtime moments. That said, I found that the ride lost a lot of steam towards the end, and that's why I give the edge to Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast. Where New Texas Giant might have barely met my expectations, Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast exceeded them far and wide. Its pacing is just so ridiculous, and the forces it pulls are very, very unique. Now, Six Flags St. Louis in Missouri is our last park in the video, and they are also home to a Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast clone, but unlike the Over Texas park, it is not my favorite ride here. This is weird to think about because it technically means that my top choice at St. Louis is better than any ride at Over Texas, despite the fact that I'd consider Six Flags Over Texas to be better than this one any day of the week. While I'm sure that this might be a relatively obscure obscure opinion, there was something about Boss that I absolutely loved. It just ran like a wooden coaster should, and it held so much power through its layout. The speed, intensity, length, and the way it tracked was very unconventional for a wooden coaster, and I loved it. Now, I do think an RMC conversion is best for the park's future and would likely be the new best ride at the park. But for the time being, I'm totally content with Boss because it's one of the most aggressive wooden coasters I've seen. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the best roller coaster at each and every single Six Flags park. Obviously, there are some that I was less confident in than others, but I think I made some pretty respectable choices here. If you agreed with my list, let me know down in the comments, and likewise, tell me what you'd rank differently if you didn't. Also, it would be greatly appreciated if you could like this video and subscribe, as it helps the channel out greatly. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye guys.